Imagine a world 4.5 million years ago. The sun beats down on the vast, open savannas of Africa. This isn't the world we know. It's a world ruled by giants, a time of immense danger and incredible opportunity. This is the stage where our story begins, the story of our earliest ancestors and the terrifying predators they shared their world with. Back then, our ancestors weren't the dominant species we are today. They were Australopithecines, small ape-like beings just learning to walk upright. Picture them, maybe 4 feet tall, a fraction of our size, venturing out from the relative safety of the forests into the wide, intimidating grasslands. Why did they take such a risk? The climate was changing, forests were shrinking, and the savanna offered new sources of food, but it also presented new, lethal challenges. The savanna was a predator's paradise. Let's meet the cast of characters that haunted our ancestors' nightmares. First, the cats. We're not talking about today's lions and leopards, though their ancestors were certainly around. We're talking about saber-toothed cats, like the fearsome Dinophilus. This beast was the size of a jaguar, but with powerful, stocky limbs built for ambush and 2 terrifying flat canines. It wasn't about speed, it was about overwhelming power, a perfect predator for taking down a slow, small hominin. And they weren't alone. Imagine a hyena, but supersized. That was Pachecracuta, the giant, short-faced hyena. Weighing over 200 pounds, it had one of the most powerful bites of any mammal ever. It was a bone-crushing specialist, capable of splintering the thickest femurs to get at the marrow inside. For our ancestors, an encounter with a pack of these would have been utterly terrifying and almost certainly fatal. Even the skies weren't safe. Giant eagles, far larger than any we see today, soared overhead. They were more than capable of snatching a small child or even an adult Australopithecine. Fossil evidence, like the famous Taung child skull, shows puncture marks that perfectly match the talons of such a bird of prey. It's a chilling reminder that danger came from every direction. So how did our tiny, defenseless ancestors survive in this gauntlet of death? They were outmatched in speed, strength, and weaponry. They didn't have claws, fangs, or armor. So what was their secret? It wasn't one thing, but a combination of budding superpowers. First, bipedalism. Walking on 2 legs might seem like a disadvantage. It made them slower and more visible on the open plain, but it freed up their hands. Hands that could carry things, food, tools, and perhaps most importantly, infants. This allowed them to transport resources back to a safer home base. Second, their brains. While small by modern standards, their brains were beginning to grow. This burgeoning intelligence allowed for complex problem-solving. They learned to read the landscape, to understand the habits of predators, and to anticipate danger. They knew which trees were easiest to climb, where the best hiding spots were, and when the most dangerous predators were likely to be hunting. This was the birth of strategy. And third, perhaps the most crucial element, cooperation. Alone, an Australopithecine was a snack, but together they were a force. They lived in groups, social units that provided more eyes and ears to spot danger. An alarm call from one could save the entire group. They could work together to scare off a lone predator, making noise, throwing rocks and sticks. This wasn't just a herd mentality, it was the beginning of community and collective defense. This constant, unrelenting pressure from predators was a powerful engine of evolution. It wasn't just about surviving day to day. It was a filter that selected for certain traits. Individuals who were smarter, more cooperative, and better at using their hands to create simple tools were more likely to survive and pass on their genes. The slow, the careless, the loners, they were weeded out. In a very real way, the saber-toothed cats and giant hyenas were the sculptors of our lineage. They chiseled away at our ancestors, forcing them to become cleverer, more social, and more resourceful. Let's think about their diet. Our ancestors were primarily plant eaters, foraging for fruits, roots, and tubers. But the savanna also offered a new, high-energy food source, meat. They weren't the hunters yet, not in this era. They were the scavengers. After a Dinophilus made a kill and had its fill, our ancestors would cautiously approach. Using their intelligence and teamwork, they would dash in, grab what they could, and retreat. This is where the first tools likely came into play. Not complex spears, but simple, sharp-edged stones. A broken piece of flint could be used to slice through tough hide and cut meat from a carcass far faster than teeth and fingernails ever could. Another round stone could be used as a hammer to crack open bones and access the nutrient-rich marrow inside, the very marrow that bone-crushing hyenas were also after. It was a race against time, a competition with the most formidable scavengers on the planet. This act of scavenging, driven by the need to outsmart bigger predators, was a revolutionary step. It introduced a new calorie-dense food source into their diet that fueled the development of their energy-hungry brains. The predator that left the carcass created an opportunity for the hominin who was clever enough to exploit it. Every meal stolen from the jaws of a predator was a victory for brain over brawn. This era, 4.5 million years ago, was a crucible. It was a time of immense fear, but also of incredible innovation. The constant threat of being eaten forced our ancestors down a unique evolutionary path. The pressure to avoid becoming prey drove them to become better communicators, better tool users, and better thinkers. They learned to work together, to plan, to look at the world not just as a place of danger, but as a place of opportunity. The story of our origins is not a story of dominance, but one of survival against all odds. It's a story of the small and the clever outwitting the large and the powerful. The shadows of these ancient predators loom large over our family tree. They are the silent partners in our evolution, the terrifying catalysts that helped forge the very traits that make us human today, our intelligence, our sociability, and our incredible adaptability. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. It's a powerful reminder that we are the descendants of survivors. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more deep dives into our incredible past. Let me know in the comments which ancient predator you think was the most terrifying. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one.